So, we've all seen that story. The one where the woman who's been abused for so many years finally speaks up. The one where, after years of fear and acceptance and self-doubt and doing things she'd never have done normally, finally stands up for herself and speaks the atrocities out loud and stands up to her abuser and walks away validated and powerful and healed. That's not this story. That's not my story. No, my story is the fear, the nightmare, the reason why thousands of women every day choose to remain silent, choose to continue to do as they're told, continue to lie and protect the very one destroying them every day. My story is the one they use to keep us in line, to keep us afraid, to keep us quiet. My story is when they say if you speak out, no one will believe you. You will humiliate yourself. I am untouchable. My story is the one you don't hear, because then how would we ever convince a single little girl they are powerful, that their voices matter, that they are good enough, that the truth sets us free? I stood up to a whole lifetime of physical, mental, emotional, and financial abuse. After over 20 years of a life I didn't even recognize, being a person I was ashamed of, allowing things no one deserves to endure, I stood up. I walked into a courtroom and I spoke my truth. And I lost. I lost. I didn't just lose, I was humiliated, destroyed. I stood all alone in a room and was made a fool of by a judge, a lawyer, and an abuser. I had everything I'd ever done out of feelings of fear and obligation and desperation that I was ashamed of used against me. I stood alone and watched this man lie on the stand and somehow become the victim when I could barely stand for the fear I'd been living in. I lost. And when I ran from the room with his smiles and laughter at my back, I felt defeated. I felt destroyed. I felt that every fear, every nightmare scenario I had ever imagined had just come to pass, and he had broken me again. And I went home and I cried, and I raged, and I yelled at God. I locked myself in a bathroom and yelled at everyone who's ever told me to stand up for myself, to speak up, to fight back, because he can't just get away with it. But he can. And I went to bed, and I woke up. And I still felt hollow. I still felt like, how can I ever feel okay again? But I did. And not years from that day, not months, not even weeks. Just over 24 hours later. Because I just needed to remember the point. Because punishing him was never the point. Punishing him was never the point. I walked into that room and spoke my truth because I deserved to do so, because it deserved to be heard, because I deserved to stand up for myself and say never again, because I deserved to feel safe, because I wanted my daughters and son to see me be strong and speak my truth so they would always know that they could do the same, to stand up and refuse to be bullied ever again. And I did that. I did what I set out to accomplish, and I did it in the face of the worst possible situation. I didn't let it stop me. I didn't let it change my mind. I didn't let it muzzle me. And he will never have the power to bully me ever again. There is a public history now. He is held accountable now, even if he wasn't for the past. He will for the future. And the ones who matter, they know the truth. They stand with me even though I stood in that room all alone. And he does not get to break me. So speak up. Tell your truth, shout it, and never let anyone's lies silence you. It's your story, and it deserves to be told, win or lose. Because when you finally stand up to that person, when you finally find your strength and walk in it, you have already won.